Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We will chant ATMA SHATKAM, the 6 verses.
Mano buddhya hankara chitani naham na cha shrotra jive
na cha grana netre
na
cha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Nacha Prana Sankhyo na Panichancha Vayu Vasapta Dhaturna Va Panchakosha Vakpani Pado Nachopasta Payu Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Na me dvesha ragau na me lobha moho Mado naiva me naiva matsarya bhava
Na dharmo na chato na kamo na moksha Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham
Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Na punyam na papam na saukyam na dukkham Na mandro na tirtham na veda na yajna Andarupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Na me prityu shanka na me jati bheda Pita naiva me naiva mata na janma
Na bandhu na mitram guru naiva shesha Chidanandarupa Shivoham
Shivoham Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Aham nirvikalpo nirakara rupo vibhurvyapya sarvatra sarvendriyani sada me samatvam namuktirna bandha Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham. Hari Om everybody, welcome back. I believe some of our friends from Verulam is not able to join because of the power failure. However, we'll have this session recorded for them, as you know. As we mentioned earlier, the idea of moving to an interactive platform that is Zoom is to make our session interactive. So as the session is going on, as you already know, please pause your questions. You're not interrupting me. I'm trying to get everybody's name on my screen so that in case you raise your hand, I can see you. But in case I don't, please shout out. All right. Thank you. One of the very important questions that we need to ask ourselves is, how will you use your gifts? Something that you have not worked for, you have not paid for. It's a very important question for every one of us. There are different types of gifts that we receive. And of course, there are gifts that are really valuable. Last year, one of my trips overseas for the Discourses, I was flying from, if I remember right, Sydney to Melbourne in Australia. So one of the regular followers who's been following me for, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years or so, came to me just the morning before I was leaving, came to meet me, and we spent probably about an hour chatting. And I was to leave also probably next half an hour. And he gave me a packet. This is for you. And I received it graciously to know what it is. So I was getting myself organized to leave to catch a flight. So reached the airport, still had probably half an hour more to check in. Check-in was not started by then. I usually get to the airport earliest as possible. So, as you know, one of the conditions is that you need to know what is in your bag, whether check-in bag or handbag, etc. Very often, especially international flights, they ask, did you pack your bag? Do you know what it is, etc. So I want to be truthful to my answer. So I opened my cabin bag and took out the little box or the content that the person gave. And I was pleasantly surprised. It was a pen, one of the higher end pen, Mont Blanc. And the person said, Angajanji, you must please use it. I said, of course I will. I didn't know when he gave me what that is. So I knew Mont Blanc is not, for a pen, it is not one of those cheaper pens. So when I searched to find out what is this all about, it was a pen high-end among the Mont Blanc brand. The value would be about 11 or 12,000 Rand or something. It is not something that I would use. I would want to use something like that. Don't get me wrong. I do love nice things in life. Few things, but those few things, nice things. So it was something that I can't use because it's not something that I would carry around wherever I go for a meeting or whatever. And the person who gave me was somebody very close to my heart, and it's not something that I can give it away also. It was a dilemma. So I brought it here, kept it on my table, still lying there. I use it now and then to probably put a tick mark or sign or whatever, because otherwise the ink will get blocked. So that is only a pen. I'm talking about it. It is something that I wouldn't use it in a day-to-day life. An expensive gift. For a pen, it is expensive indeed. But I'm not even talking about pen or any one of those gifts that you receive from your family, friends, or close acquaintance, etc. We all have gifts that are far more valuable than all these things that we can count on. Something that are much more precious, that we tend to ignore, like I'm doing with the pen. It's lying there. Something that we do not take full care of, not realizing its value or the sacrifice that benevolent or benefactor bestowed on you. They are our own instruments of action, our own body and everything beyond, which we very often don't use effectively. The gifts that we are really blessed with. That we don't know how to use. Once there was a man, a very wealthy man. He was so wealthy that he could afford to have 4 wives. He had 4 wives and was really happy. So he had 4 wives and he loved, this is a story oft quoted, some of you may be very familiar to you. So he loved his fourth wife most, really spent good part of the day with his fourth wife, took care of her, made sure that money is spent on her, everything that he could do, because she was his favorite wife among the 4. And his third wife, he loved her dearly and gifted her with very expensive personal care products, makeup items, made her really look beautiful so that he can show her off among his friends how beautiful she is, how good she is, etc. But he was also internally very nervous that she will run away with somebody else. That fear was there. And he made sure that he took care of her well. And then his second wife, he loved her too, but he would talk to her, give her love and attention, discuss with her, sometimes even use her as his sounding board to get ideas. Give her a lot of attention. And then his first wife, who was really loyal to him, he didn't really pay attention to her, ignored her. Because he was very busy with his other 3 wives, so he did not have time to pay attention to his first wife. And life went by. The first wife didn't really complain. She sort of tolerated. And as years went by, the man grew old. As he was on the deathbed, and he knew that he's going to go soon. So he called his first wife and said, I have been so dear to you. Beg your pardon, he called his fourth wife. And I spent so much of time and attention and, put in a lot of effort to look after you. I want you to accompany me when I leave. Will you come with me? She didn't even give any response to him. She just walked away very quietly, ignored his request. And then he called his third wife. Will you come with me when I leave? My days are counted. I don't think I'll live long. And his third wife said, I don't think so. I will find another man, get married, and I'll settle. And I'll inherit some wealth from you, at least 1/4. That's all she said. Then that, of course, really, really broke his heart. He was, really shocked, you can imagine, because the first wife, he spent so much of time. Second wife also, he spent maybe less time. And he called his second wife and said, will you go with me? I spent time with you. And the second wife also said, I can't The maximum I can come with you is up to the graveyard, beyond which I cannot. I have my own things to do. I have my life to live. So far I served you. That was the reaction from the second wife. And as the man heard the reaction from all the three wives, the fourth, second, and third, the first wife, whom he ignored, never paid enough attention, in a faint voice from nearby, shouted out to him, I will come with you, I will accompany you wherever you go. And when he turned his attention to her, he realized that I've been neglecting her. She is skin malnourished. And he was so guilty that he never paid enough attention to her. So that is the way with life. We all have 4 wives in our life. Who are these 4 wives? 4 partners. The first one that we spend maximum attention is our material possessions. Things that we give so much of attention to. And that is the reality. Our house, which is something that is closest to us, our car, and many other material possessions that we have. If you actually analyze, that is what we are doing. Those material possessions will not go with us. Many people lock themselves into many decades of financial lock, where they buy extra large house, which they have to spend perhaps next 20-30 years to pay it off. And in that house that they will take next 30 years to pay it off, how much do they actually occupy? 10%, maximum 20%. 20% of the space I'm talking about. Not only in terms of space, we also occupy that only 10% of your time or 20% of your time. In terms of space, in terms of time, the house that will be working whole day to pay for next 30 years, we occupy 20% of that time and space, because we wake up in the morning, spend an hour in the house, jump into the car, go to work, come back in the evening. That is 1 hour we spend, because another 6 or 7 hours you're sleeping. Come back in the evening 5-6 o'clock, and maybe we sleep about 10 o'clock, another few hours. And something that we occupy 20% of our time and space, we will spend good part of our life to work hard and to pay it off, and many things. And that is the nature of the first wife, the material possessions. And many of us are nourishing the first wife, good part of our life, don't we? In fact, in the process of we nourishing the first wife, which is our gross body, the material possessions, it's a very expensive affair, if you actually analyze. To nourish the first wife is a costly affair. Why? Because All right. Okay. All right. Thank you for muting your mics. All right. So, where are we? So, before we take care of the first wife, remember, before we earn the money to nourish our possessions, there are three other people makes themselves richer before we see the money. That is our boss, our employer, the bank, and the taxman. Before we even see the money, the three people already gets benefited by our work. Our employer, the bank, and the taxman. Only balance we see to take care of the third wife. It's a great sacrifice indeed. And the second wife is our body, our gross body, that we pay a lot of attention to. Again, just as the wealthy man gave his second wife very expensive personal care products, French perfumes, and other toiletries, etc., just to take care of her so that she looks good, so that he can show her off among the friends. That is what we do with our second wife, our body. And will the body come with us? Just as the businessman asked her, she said, no, I can't come. That is way with it. And the third wife is our subtle body, which is our thoughts, desires, and emotions and ideas. Just as the businessman spent time with her, used her as a sounding board when he need to solve some dilemmas, etc. He entertained her with a lot of emotion. So do we, our subtle body. So will the subtle body come with us? No. The third wife also said, the furthest I can come with you is up to the grave. Thereafter you have to go. I'll have to find another man, because subtle body moves on to another body. And the fourth wife is the causal body, which is our vasanas, our samskaras. That is the storehouse of all our karmas, good and bad tendencies. We do not spend adequate time in our samskara, the causal body, who will come with us, our vasanas, our karmas, who will come with us when we leave this body. We spend all our life taking care of these first three wives, who will never be loyal with us, who cannot be loyal with us. They will have to move on with some other man. Our material possessions, somebody else will occupy. Somebody else will own after we leave. Our gross body gets cremated. Our subtle body will move on to another body. But the causal body is what actually leaves when we die. But we do not spend enough time, effort, and sacrifice to nourish the first wife, which is our causal body, who's closest to us, as you can see in the image on your screen. Karana Sharira, the causal body, is the sum total of all our good and bad karma that we have engaged ourselves in, not only in this life, it can be in the previous lives. So therefore, you got to ask yourself, how are we using these four gifts that we are bestowed with? These four gifts we are gifted at the time of birth. How are we using this gift? Are we ignoring it because you think it is valueless? Are we avoiding it because we don't know how to use it? Like the pen. You got to answer that question. Which wife are you serving? Good part of your life. And we invariably find ourselves helping the first one the most, like the wealthy businessman. And then you find many people whom they thought, okay, first wife is enough taken care of. She's very secure. There is investment, insurance, and property, whatnot. Everything is there. So she's taken care of. Well, another set of people, they take care of the second wife, body. They spend hours together in the gym, playing golf, exercising, running, etc. And another set of people don't even take care of the body. They take care of the third wife. They entertain their third wife. They watch movies. They spend time with their friends, family, entertain third wife. Very rarely you find one who pleasing or taking care of the fourth wife. So which wife are you taking care of? It is the question that you got to answer. Are we taking care of these gifts? If you don't, it will come back and bite us at some time. All right. So Atma Bodha, sorry, beg your pardon, what are we? Atma Shatkam, Atma Bodha, by the way, is another composition by Adi Shankaracharya, which contain about 47 verses. So this is Atma Shatkam, that is the sixth verse on Atma, the self. So when we talk about the self, of these are the four wives that we have. Which wife are we nourishing maximum? So in these three verses that we studied last two sessions, it is a process of negation, negating what we are not primarily and affirming, asserting what we really are. I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not the intellect. I am the self. I am Shiva, the supreme reality. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. So all these, in the third verse that we discuss, these likes and dislikes that we associate so much with, that we believe it to be, greed, envy, jealousy, delusion. I am not dharma, I am beyond dharma. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. And then who am I? I am the supreme reality. So the exercise in the entire Atma Shatkam boils down to two practices. Assertion of the reality, negation of illusion. Is the question is it wrong to watch movies, etc.? If we do not do these things, then we literally do not exist. I do not understand. Legitimate question. Not at all. Not at all. You got to remember, I remember to have discussed this in the very recent past, maybe in some other session, that four karmas, Nitya karma, Naimittika karma, Kamya karma, and Nishiddha karma. Nitya karma is our regular routine activities which we have to perform. Naimittika karma is occasional special duties we have to perform. Kamya karma is recreation, which is the movies. All right. Or your sport, playing golf or cricket or whatever it is, you got to. If you don't, you will frustrate yourself, because human body needs recreation. In fact, if you look at the structure of Hinduism has ingeniously incorporated recreation like movies in our life, our activities. That is called manoranjan. Mano means mind, ranjan means entertainment. Another word for manoranjan is utsav. Utsav is a Sanskrit word which means festivals. If you look at the structure of Hindu calendar starts and ends totally different from the Gregorian calendar, English calendar. So every month or two is intercepted with a religious festivals, a very significant religious festival. And the religious festival, the beauty of the Hindu religious festival, remember, we are talking about ancient times where there was no movies, there was no drama, nothing. The celebration was only the festivals, religious festivals. Right from the beginning, you have Shivaratri, which has got entertainment as well as discipline. You know, rural places in India, even now, during Shivaratri, they have stage shows, stage plays. And what are the plays? Our traditional, our epics, you know, enactment of Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranic stories from Puranas, stories from Upanishads, like what you call this, Ekalavya, Prahalada, Dhruva. These were all very inspiring characters. So, entertain people, but in that entertainment, there was spiritual awakening. There was spiritual association. It was not just entertainment. So, to answer the question, is it wrong to watch movies? Not at all. Only thing is that I would say when we watch movie, we got to be so selective that investment of 2.5 to 3 hours of watching the movie must not just entertain you, but it must also inspire you. There are vast amount of movies, I would say about 95% of the movies, whether in the East or West, which actually become blockbusters, are merely entertainment value. And then you have certain movies which entertains at the same time inspire you. When you leave the movie theater or when you switch off the television after watching the movie, what is the reaction in your mind? What impact that movie leaves in your mind? That is very important. There are movies that entertains, then there are movies simply, entertain at the same time inspire. Some message that will ring in your mind for a good couple of days. Whereas many of the masala movies, as they call, masala movies are the spicy movies. In fact, incidentally, many South Africans who have not been to India watch Indian movies and think that is the way in India. You must remember that is hardly a representation of India, because many people buy the Bollywood movie scenes or whatever that happens as part of Hinduism. Not at all. Far from it. All right. So therefore, so that movie, watching movies falls under kamya karma. That is the permissible, desire-ridden action, which you got to. You need recreation, holidays, taking the family out for picnic or whatever. Right? Now, then he continues the discussion in the fourth verse.
Na punyam na papam na saukyam na dukkham na mantro na tirtham na veda na yajna
Aham bhojanam naiva bhojyam na bhokta chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham Chidananda Rupam Shivoham Shivoham. Na punyam na papam. Neither meritorious deeds, that is good karma, that is punyam, and papam is demerit, bad karma. So I am beyond punyam and papam. The merit and the demerit accrues to the first three wives. I beg your pardon, the four wives, including the causal body, the material, physical, that is the material possession, gross body, subtle body, and the causal body. So I am beyond the four wives, I am Atman. So punyam and papam, the meritorious deeds and demeritorious deeds. So every one of us in the world are a combination of good and bad, or the sum total of all the good and the bad deeds that we have committed in the past. So you got to be beyond that. That is why before Bhagavan Krishna gave out the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna together with Arjuna, riding Arjuna's chariot, was standing among the Pandavas, that is the righteous Lord, the noble people. And Arjuna requested Krishna to drive the chariot between the two armies so that Arjuna can have a good view of who are all the warriors, powerful warriors who are assembled to wage the Kurukshetra war. And Krishna drove the chariot between the two armies. Arjuna stood there. He observed the Kaurava army, and that is where he was overwhelmed with emotion. And between the two armies, standing there, that is where Krishna gave out the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita. Very same message Adi Shankara is conveying here. All right. That is, if you really want to gain from the message of Vedanta, message of the Bhagavad Gita, of Atma Shatkam, you got to stand between the two armies. Neither are you attached to good, nor should you be attached to bad. When you are attached to good desire and activities, which a lot of people are, you keep accumulating punya. That's what he's saying, meritorious deeds. And another set of people are so attached to selfish, self-aggrandizing engagement, only taking care of the fourth wife. So you got to stand between the two, neither attached to good nor attached to bad. That is when we exhaust our karma, exhaust our desires, and get closer to divinity. That is the message. So, na punyam na papam. So this verse, this particular sentence is not only the goal, the end, it is also the means, it is also the path. It's indicating the end as well as the means, the goal as well as the path. And then he says, Saukyam na dukkham. Now, Saukyam na dukkham. Neither happiness nor unhappiness. Not even happiness. When you experience happiness, unhappiness will follow. That is the law. Sugham is a Sanskrit word which can be translated as happiness or pleasure. What is the difference between pleasure and satisfaction or contentment? You got to understand the distinction between happiness or pleasure versus satisfaction and contentment. One is momentary, temporary, that is happiness or pleasure. When there is pleasure, when you continue to enjoy that pleasure, sooner or later, that object of pleasure, that object of engagement may be taken away from you or it will leave you. Then there will be displeasure. So I am neither pleasure nor displeasure. But you can aspire for contentment or satisfaction, which is much deeper. Satisfaction and contentment is closer to divinity than pleasure. Pleasure is at the sensory level. For example, you have a bar of chocolate. You love the chocolate. Every now and then you go to the kitchen and take a piece and eat it. And what chocolate? What brand? Tex. Yeah, Tex, your favorite chocolate. You love it? Or Cadbury, of course. After lunch, after breakfast, or whenever you get a chance, you take a walk around, take a piece and eat it. So, the Tex, the chocolate that you like, before the chocolate reaches the tongue, there is no pleasure. After the chocolate leaves the tongue, there is no pleasure. But the chocolate, when it is in contact with the tongue, that's the only time there is pleasure. That is why they say it is a moment on your lips and a lifetime on your hips. That is the pleasure. All right. Whereas you love the chocolate, you enjoy it. As much as you enjoy it, you give the chocolate to a child sitting next to you. Not your child, somebody else's. And from the look of it, you know the child loves the chocolate. And the fact that you sacrificed the pleasure and gave the chocolate to a child, and you watch the child relishing the chocolate. So, when you genuinely sacrifice the pleasure and then you observe the child relishing the chocolate, what do you get? I know it's difficult, but you get satisfaction, you get contentment, you relish it, you sacrifice the pleasure. So he says, na saukyam na dukkham, I am beyond happiness and unhappiness. The problem is our, what do you call this, delusion, moha mudgara, Bhajagovindam, remember, it's a delusion blaster. So one of the delusions that Bhajagovindam blasts is that mudgara means a hammer, all right? Moha is delusion. So the entire 31 verses, each verse or each idea is actually a what do you call this, delusion burster. It keeps hammering the delusion that we are caught up in. We believe that pleasure comes out of contact, but Vedanta says pleasure comes out of abstinence. Abstinence is pleasure. When we abstain and eradicate the desire, the satisfaction and contentment comes by eradicating the desire. Pleasure comes by fulfillment of the desire. If there is pleasure, there will be pain. Full stop. He says, na saukhyam na dukkham, na mantro na tirtham. Neither mantra or japa, the chanting, nor tirtham. Tirtham means pilgrimage. I am beyond the pilgrimage because pilgrimage, as you know, should we then not aspire to be happy? All right. No. You should aspire to be contented. As I mentioned, although in common parlance, we use the word aspire to be happy, most people carry a belief system in the mind. Happiness comes by gaining financial freedom, etc. That will never come. All right. We should aspire to be contented, satisfied. Satisfaction comes by eradicating the desires. Contentment comes by controlling our ego and attachment. That is what we should aspire for. So when we aspire for contentment and satisfaction, happiness comes automatically. Pleasure comes automatically. We enjoy every bit of whatever little bit that we have. Whereas when we aspire for happiness, which are momentary, you will not necessarily get contentment. When you experience contentment and satisfaction, happiness comes automatically or pleasure comes automatically. When happiness comes, contentment not necessarily. Therefore, aspire for contentment and satisfaction. That comes by eradication. So, beyond mantra and tirtha, mantra is chanting of the mantra. The word mantra in Sanskrit means mananat trayate iti mantra. Mananat means through contemplation, through reflection upon the meaning of the mantra. It protects you, it protects your mind. That is mantra. And when we go deepest core of your personality, We are already protected. And no tirtham, no pilgrimage. Why? Because the biggest or the best pilgrimage we can ever undertake is the pilgrimage within each one of us. It needs no time, it needs no money, it needs no booking of the ticket or visa. It simply needs a little bit of training to quieten our mind to go within. And that is why we try to experience or try to taste that inner journey, a short voyage at the end of every session that we are having. So, na mantro na tirtham, no pilgrimage. You don't need to have the pilgrimage. The purpose of pilgrimage is that, why do Hinduism recommends pilgrimage to far and wide, such great places like Tirupati, Vaishno Devi, Badrinath, Balaji, Shabarimala, etc. Because, let's say you're going for a pilgrimage which takes probably 3 days, 5 days, 10 days. And real pilgrimage is accomplished by certain amount of sacrifice. That is why true pilgrims go to their place of worship by walk. When I say walk, I don't mean to say if it is from foreign country or from a far and wide city, they don't necessarily walk, but they reach the nearest airport or the nearest railway station or the nearest point, and then they walk. Today, when they go to Tirupati, for example, they go to the foot of the hill, and many devotees decided to climb the hill instead of going by road and reach the temple. That requires more sacrifice. So when you are going through that arduous exercise of conducting that pilgrimage, where is your thought? The benefit of pilgrimage is that in the back of our mind is continuously lingering in the thought of reaching your destination, which is Tirupati or whichever the shrine that you are going to. So because we are continuously thinking about something beyond material and physical, beyond the four wives, therefore pilgrimage is recommended. And it is not meant to be treated like a holiday. There is sacrifice. So no mantra, no tirtham, na Veda, na yajna. Neither Veda nor yajna. Veda means knowledge. Yajna is fire worship, sacrifice. You need knowledge when you don't know something. The Atman, the self, is self-evident. It knows itself. Just as with a torchlight, you can light every other object in the room in the pitch dark. But you cannot use the light to see the very battery that is inside the torch. Because it is a battery that, creates light in the flashlight, torchlight. Therefore, with this knowledge, you can know every other object, but how do you know the self itself? It is self-evident. In that sense, no knowledge, no yajna, no sacrifices. Yajna is the oldest ritual in Hinduism, the fire worship. Fire represents the supreme reality, Shiva, the Atman, the all-pervading reality, because among the 5 elements, namely the space, air, fire, water, earth, fire is the first contactable or perceptible of the 5 elements. space and air you cannot contact, you cannot perceive. The first perceptible of the five elements is fire. Therefore, fire is chosen to represent the supreme reality. And many other religion also has fire as a symbol of God. That is why we light the lamp. So yajna, the fire worship, represents that supreme reality. And then he says, Aham bhojanam naiva bhojyam na bhokta. Aham bhojanam na. I am neither food nor bhojyam. That is the act of eating. And bhokta, bhokta is the eater. I am neither bhojanam, the food, nor the act of consuming the food, nor the enjoyer, the consumer of food. Which means, these are all representative terms. The three parts in any interaction: the subject, the object, and the interaction between the subject and the object. Subject is the self, the individual. Object is the world. And the interaction between the subject and the object is the bhojyam. So he says, I am beyond all this. The interaction between you and the world. Aham bhojanam naiva bhojyam na bhokta. There is neither subject nor object, nor interaction between the subject and object. Because from the Atman's point of view, from the divinity's point of view, everything, the subject, the object, and the interaction, all one and the same thing. Therefore, he says, Aham bhojanam naiva bhojyam na bhokta. I am neither food nor object of eating, nor the eater. Then who am I? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Then he continues the discussion in the 5th verse.
Name mrityu shankha name jati veda
Pita naiva me naiva mata na janma na bandhur na mitram guru naiva sheshya Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. By the way, if you are speaking out, you must remember, I forgot to tell you, it's my mistake, sorry. I've got this mic connected to my laptop, so the audio is also cut off. So I can't hear you. So you need to raise your hand, as you have an option that you have to raise your hand, which will indicate on my screen that you want to respond, ask a question, or give a feedback, or whatever it is, so that I can activate the audio on my side. All right. So please do that if you have a question and you want to respond to my question also. Okay. The 5th verse reads, I have no fear of death, no caste distinctions, no father or mother or birth, no relatives or friend, no guru or disciple. I am the form of consciousness bliss. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. Name Mrityu Shanka. I don't have Mrityu Shanka. Shanka means anxiety, fear. Mrityu means death. I have no fear of death. Why? Because Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am the Sat Chit Ananda which is deathless. My original nature, my essential nature is Amrityu or Amritam, which means deathless. Since I am that deathless, I have no fear of death. And Mrityu Shanka, that is the anxiety of death or the fear of death, is considered to be the second most powerful fear of death that most people go through. And the first being, the most powerful fear, is the fear of public speaking. So I have no fear. Now, talking about Mrityu Shanka, that is the fear of death. There is a paradox. That is, we can see people dying every day, and the rate of increase, the rate of death has increased slightly during this COVID-19 season. We can see animals dying every day, and yet nobody practically believes in death. Intellectually, we understand one day we are going to die. Death is certain. We all know that. And yet, nobody practically believes in it. And yet, the truth is that we may not see tomorrow. Don't worry, you will see tomorrow. Don't worry. You ask a 95-year-old man or a woman, he doesn't believe he's going to die. He thinks, oh, may I'll live another few more years very easily. Every single one of us believe that we are going to live for long, and yet we may not see, we don't know how long. Why is that? Although intellectually we understand that all of us will die one day, and yet practically we don't believe in it. In fact, in the Mahabharata, there is a section called Yaksha Prashna. Yaksha is an apparition. Prashna is the question. Yaksha Prashna is literally means question by an apparition, a ghost as it were. The five Pandavas, the five brothers, Pandavas in the Mahabharata, were in the forest during the exile. And as they were moving around, they were very thirsty. And the eldest of the five Pandavas, Yudhishthira, asked the youngest one, Sahadeva, to go and fetch some water. And Sahadeva went in pursuit of water, and he saw a lake full of water, crystal clear, nectarine water there. And as he wanted to drink water and carry some water for his brothers and family. And as he was about to drink some water, a voice came from nowhere, as it were. Hold on, stop. Before you drink, answer my question. And Sahadeva looked around and he couldn't see anybody. And he about to drink the water, and the voice came again, before you drink water, answer my question. Sahadeva ignored the voice and he drank water, and next moment he was drop dead. And Yudhishthira back in the kutir waiting. And a couple of hours went by, no trace of Sahadeva, and he sent Nakula, the second of the fourth brother rather. Right. So he sent the fourth brother, and he also, as he was looking around for water, he saw the lake and he saw the younger brother lying on the floor lifeless. And he was also very thirsty. He tried to wake him up, but he is not. And he was about to drink water. The voice came again. Hold on, before you drink the water, answer my question. He also ignored the apparition's question and drank water. Nakula died. And then Arjuna went, same story. Bhima went, the second brother, same story. And finally, all the four brothers went, and no trace of them. And eventually, Yudhishthira went in search of these four brothers. And Yudhishthira came across the lake, and he was also very thirsty. He saw the four brothers lying dead. As he was about to drink the water, the voice came again. Hold on, before you drink the water, answer my question. Yudhishthira looked around. He couldn't find anybody. He gathered some water and was about to drink, and the voice came once again. Hold on, before you drink, answer my question. And then he dropped the handful of water back, and Yudhishthira said, okay, fire on. What are the question? And the question came one after the other. And that section in Mahabharata is called Yaksha Prashna. Yaksha is apparition, Prashna means question. It's a beautiful section in the Mahabharata. I recommend you read it. And one of the questions that Yaksha Prashna posed is, what is the strangest thing? What is the most wonderful thing in the world? Many, many questions. And it was like rapid round, fast questions. And Yudhishthira said, the most amazing, wonderful thing in the world is that people can see people dying every day. Everybody dies, but nobody practically believes in death. Why? Because our self is essentially deathless. The I, aham, remains with us wherever we are, wherever we go. The I. Therefore, I have no mrityu shanka. Na jati bheda. Jati bheda is caste distinction, caste discrimination. As you know, in India, even now, it is still lingering. I mean, the caste system, the four castes, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. They are called the four castes. All right. Varna. Varna means colors. All right. Brahmanas are the intellectual caste, the spiritual, the priest class. Kshatriyas are the warrior class. Vaishyas are the labor class. And the Shudras are the labor class. So according to their mental temperament, they were advised to perform their duty. So Brahmins were highly intellectual and people with very high sattva content. They were given the duty of imparting spiritual wisdom to people. The priest class, they were supposed to sustain spiritual values and culture in the society. They are the Brahmanas. And the Kshatriyas are those with predominantly rajasic people. They were valiant, they were courageous, they prepared to sacrifice. They were given the duty of protecting the country. They were the kings, they were the rulers. And then Vaishyas are the people with a mercenary attitude, quid pro quo. That is, what will I get if I do this? If you want to be a businessman, you need to have the quid pro quo attitude, profit gaining attitude. But you can still perform business in a sattvic temperament. But if you're running the business, you got to think in terms of profit. So those people with that kind of temperament, who had very strong mercenary attitude, who had very high content of tamas and rajas, they were given the vaishyas, the tradesmen, the businessmen. And people who were predominantly tamasic, they were given the menial labor, which doesn't require a lot of thinking. And each one of them performed their duty according to their guna and karma, or varna and karma, and they evolved to the state of God realization. The entire caste division was meant to help people to grow spiritually. But what happened is, as centuries went by or millenniums went by, people lost the well-meant plan of life. They misunderstood the purpose. And the priest class, particularly the Brahmin class, began to assume a superiority about their profession over the others. And then they begin to segregate. They began the process of discrimination and say Vaishyas and Shudras are the lower class and we are upper class. They begin to assume a superiority, and then the problem started. So this well-meant division of caste is not only in India or Hindus, it is there in everywhere in the world, in every race, every nationality, every country has got the highly intellectual people who are the brain trust, who are thinkers, decision makers, who advises the rulers, the Kshatriyas, the warrior class. So ancient times, the Brahmanas ruled the world, then the Kshatriyas ruled the world, and a time has come, the Vaishyas ruling the world, capitalist, and then as time go by, Shudras will rule the world. But in actual fact, the Brahmanas should be ruling the world, the thinkers with the sound spiritual values. So those days the sages had advisors, gurus, the thinking class, the Brahmanas, who gave them the advice. So the Kshatriyas took advice from the gurus and then they ruled. So he says, Na jati beda. I don't have that caste distinction. In the self, the Atman, there's no caste. Caste, jati and varna. Guna and varna belongs to the body, mind and intellect. Na jati beda. Pitanaiva menaiva mata na janma. I have neither mother nor father, nor birth. If I don't have birth, how can I have father and mother? And what am I? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. We will continue our discussion next week on Friday, that is 2 days later. Thank you very much. Continue your reflection and thinking about it. I'll see you Friday. Don't go away. We will spend a few minutes in meditation. Sit in a comfortable sitting position, hands interlaced, the fingers interlaced and placed in front, or your palms can be on your thighs. Your back, neck, and head straight, slightly bent at the pelvic region. Close your eyes gently, looking between your eyebrows, but not staring there. I believe that at the head of the state, the president of the country, is leading a national prayer today. So we join him and the millions of compatriots in this country in that prayer to ward off the state that the world is in. The greatest prayer, the best prayer is when we pray for the whole world. That is why some of the best prayers that we all know, Loka samastha sukhino bhavantu. May all the beings in all the world be happy. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Let everything exist happily. Sarvesham purnam bhavatu. Let the whole world remain fulfilled. Sarvesham mangalam bhavatu. Let there be wellness in everywhere in the world. Sarve bhavantu sukhina. May the whole world be happy. We join in this meditation, join our countrymen to pray that the whole world emerge out of this difficult time of COVID-19. May there be less and less infection and less death in this country. If the thoughts of millions and millions of people in the country and billions of people in the world are powerful enough and strong enough, COVID-19 has no choice but to diminish gradually, because prayer is done with our thought, and thought produces our life, our world, our environment. We join in our earnest prayer to the Paramatma, to Shiva, the master of the universe, to maintain the discipline, social distancing, and everything that it takes to ward off this contagion. Feel the silence. Maintain the prayerful mood. Shanti, Shanti. Make that strong assertion and affirmation to the universe, to the world, to ward off this calamity. We will now together chant the mantra Om that culminate into mental whispers and dies away in silence. Breathe in. Feel the silence within you and around you. Breathe in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. Thank you very much.